Hi guys, before we begin our sketching day for today, I just want to be able to talk about some things that are working well and a lot of other things that need our careful attention now at this point in the sketching process. So, sometimes the intention we begin with are not followed through. The scope of a project changes halfway, and that is fine. It is important to stay flexible and kind of make amends as we go along the ride. Um, but there's this saying from a famous painter and many other painters. One that comes to mind is David Lafelle, who wrote in one of his books that whatever you complete, wherever you are in the process of your painting or your drawing, it should look holistic. What that really means is that you are working in all the areas collectively or uniformly across the board, across the canvas. So in this case, if there are certain areas that have not yet been paid attention to or equal attention, now is a good time to kind of first address those before I move on to details or fixing other things. So it's good to kind of pause every now and then and ask yourself a few questions about where you are in your process map, if you will, about on a particular project. So here at hand, what we have is we have established the linear structure very well. We know the shape design, we know our angle breaks, we have a good sense of light and dark. So we're done with those three things on the hierarchy. But what also remains on the chart now is how to uniformly construct this form or kind of establish form. And like I said yesterday, your form comes from your middle values or from your value range. So at this point, before I get into my establishing the full scale of the values, what I'm going to do is first fix what is still looking pretty unfinished. So for example, these styrations and kind of lines are something that need my attention right now. What I mean by that is that I want to make sure I have unity in the spread of my values. So all these little tiny marks and gaps I see in a certain plane or in a certain area, I'm going to first go ahead and fix that in a very clean and unified way. Now, the reason I'm stuck at this point is because I did not start this project with this vision. I started it off for a different purpose and then I got into it. So now I'm really just fixing stuff rather than really adhering to a well designed plan or format. And this is something we run into. In fact, I'm glad we are doing this project because this kind of highlights the essence or the importance of starting something with a purpose. Now, we're always going to be in a situation like this. Sometimes we are hindered by a schedule or there are other interruptions in life and we are not able to follow through or complete certain things. So that could be a different example, a different circumstance, but similar situation. And it is okay to sort of pick up the sticks and kind of start building from wherever you leave them at. So here, now I have to turn the form after I have unified some of the darks. And I have a little key here which is sort of like my pre-decided scale or the range that I'm going to use for this particular drawing. And the reason I have this pre-decide relative value scale, it's not absolute because I may or may not be able to replicate this exact dark black that I have here on this. So hence I call it a relative value. Also, I may not be able to replicate the exact sunlight. So I create some sort of a key so that I can stay within some sort of a parameter. Now, of course, from the get-go, I am just in the process of, this was a demonstration which turned into a drawing project that I'm now trying to fix and complete, and I'm going to do my best to kind of fix it from the way I started it. This was not the strategy I would have used had I started this drawing in a more structured approach right from the get-go. I will be sharing a project with you which is going to be quite the antithesis of what this is, which is going to be a very well structured drawing process right from the beginning to the end. This is our fixing and rescue operation, as I call it sometimes. But with that said, it's not good to be harsh, and the question we have to ask ourselves is a drawing sound or not? And what makes us drawing or a painting sound is when you have worked through the parameters that you have listed for yourself. So in this case, I can call this a good sketch or a good drawing if I would be able to now complete it with the vision in mind that I have from this point on. And for me, the vision from this point on is that I'm going to fix and rescue some of these unity in the values, and then I'm going to start working on my form. The way we work on the form is I'm going to start working on these very subtle transitions that exist in the middle range. So I'm going to start working on my middle tones, so how the cheek turns up towards the light. I have a very dark value. For something to turn in up towards the light, there has to be a strong, harsher dark. Now, those of you who have worked with me on a sphere know that the importance of having a clear terminator is that the form then with lighter values leads to a more clean and better transition. It just makes it more visually appealing. So in this case, I have a harsh line right now, more as a marker for me or a terminator for me to decide how to move up the form like we have here in the sphere that I've kind of kept handy. Just as a reminder for myself to kind of always be mindful of the transition I'm creating. The way I would create that transition would just be to have a very unified value working, in the direction from dark to light up on this scale. Same with the forehead. It's not touched yet. It just looks like I have a flashlight on him, and there is absolutely no range. And you see that because I have not yet started the process of shading or working on this particular form. Same with the nose and these subtle forms within. So my goal at this point, or the task for you at hand at this point at home, would be to first get your drawing symmetrically to the vision you've had in mind. In this process right now, I'm going to turn this into a sound drawing. Whether it's good or bad or aesthetically pleasing is a different discussion. However, sometimes a sound unified drawing kind of is a better gradient, in my opinion, or a better judge of an art project. What makes it beautiful is if all the things that you intended to put on there, if it's a study of light, that principle should be very clear. If it's a study of form, it should be very clear. If it's a study of just light and shade, chiaroscuro, that clear sense of distinction between dark and light should be clear. So that's all debatable, what makes a good drawing and not. In my humble opinion, if something is sound, that means that all these factors or these control variables that we have right now are taken to a place where they would turn this into a sound drawing. And for that, the simple key is to ask yourself about the light, the direction of the light, the structural approach. Where are your angles? Do you have have you used or demonstrated some knowledge of anatomy? Have you shaded? Do you have beautiful transitions? Is there a good sense of light and shadow and dark, form and structure? So if you kind of wear that hat instead at this point, especially if in this project, I think we would do ourselves a favor and call this a complete project. After all, whatever is sitting around in our studio or in our drawing books or files excuse me should look complete. And I often joke about it that what if I drop dead the next morning or tonight? I would want to leave my painting or drawing at a place which is still pleasing, or it's a good study or a read of what I had in mind. So as long as I'm able to translate that thought process with a given document through my drawing, these will become historical documents as far as we are concerned in our own personal history as an artist. And I would hate to be discovered. I would hate for any of these drawings lying around and discovered as a complete haphazard project. But with that said, and I don't mean to scare you by saying all these things, but in a nutshell, I'm going to fix this drawing and I'm going to work with the variables at hand. I'm going to first unify the values, then work up towards the light by working on transitions. And then when I'm towards the end, I will just do a quick comparison, or I'll pay closer attention to the likeness or gesture or the expression, but that's going to be really my last few strokes of the pencil, where I'm going to try to adjust any of that. So for now, I'm just going to work along, and I hope you are doing a bit of sketching every day, or just chugging along and doing some other art projects. The other thing I wanted to share was that I might turn this into a painting if time permits, but it would be a good opportunity to kind of see the whole process. If some of you would like to transfer, what are the methods we use for transferring this on a canvas, or even to just kind of use this as a drawing that can be potentially turned into a painting. Any good drawing can be turned into a painting, so it's always good to have a bunch of good drawings. All right, so let's get started, and I'll send you a bunch of videos today and conclude this session. Thank you.